All right, hello folks. Thank you so much for coming to our Splunk Tech Talk on SPL2. I'm just going to open it with some reminders. Everyone will be muted. We'll be talking, and then feel free to submit your questions via the Q&A box on the On24 platform. And also, this is the first time we're using On24, at least the presenters. So we're still getting used a little bit to the UI in the back end. Now, that being said, give us a little bit of grace, but we should be able to go through, answer all your questions appropriately, but we'll all be learning together. And as always, the replay will be available on Community, which I'm sure you're very familiar with by now. I'll give it a couple seconds for people to come in, as we are right at the top of the hour still, and we all know meetings go over quite frequently. All right, let's get into it. All right, so we're here to talk about SPL2, the next generation language for Splunk. I'm sure you guys have heard about this, some chatter. We've been putting out a lot of blogs, demos, and videos, but we're here to really dive into it and make sure you get to answer or get your questions answered directly by Splunk experts. Speaking of those Splunk experts, so I'll introduce myself and then I'll hand it over to all the other folks on this call. My name's Michelle Kapora. I'm a product marketing manager here at Splunk. I support all things platform. So something like this that really unifies the whole ecosystem is so exciting to talk about. I'm really excited. So I'll allow the other folks in this call to introduce themselves as well.
Hey, folks, this is Jay Rakhe. I'm product manager with SPL2, and I'll pass it on to Laura.
Or Tim, whoever.
Or Kim.
I can take it away. Hey, I'm Tim Pavlik. I've been with Splunk for almost 10 years now, and I'm an engineer. In the past, I've worked, you may have seen me in the developer-facing space, and today here to talk to you as the search language team lead in the SPL2 search language. Do we have Laura?
Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I was talking away without taking myself off of mute. I'm Laura Stewart. I've been with Splunk for about 11 years, and I've been working exclusively on the search language, specifically SPL and SPL2. So I'm happy to be here today to present to you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for introducing yourself. Let's get right into it. All right, so we're going to cover today an overview of why we're improving on SPL. Like what is SPL2, a deep dive into it from a visual perspective as well as demos. And then of course we'll have time for Q&A. Okay, let's start out with a poll. We wanted to ask you guys and just get a feel for where everybody is in this room. What's your current stage of SPL2 adoption, specifically for search and reporting? We know it's been rolled out for Edge Processor and Ingest Processor already, but what about search and reporting? What have you guys been up to lately? Feel free to just go on your On24 screen itself and click these directly. We'll give it a couple seconds and then we'll see we'll all see together where we're at. All right, one person. Thank you guys for your response, your individual. Please continue to, all right, I'll go back if people haven't submitted yet. Okay, we've got 6 people responded. 8, yeah, we're climbing. Okay, here we go. So we're pretty new. We're either on the brand new or awareness trend where we're still looking to learn more. That's perfect. We're actually really happy that that's what's showing up, because the purpose of this whole tech talk is to really dive into it, introduce you to it, and to ensure that you feel comfortable adopting. All right, let's get into it. So before we talk about what SPL2 is, let's talk about why there was a need for it in the first place, the initial gap we saw with talking with customers. So let's, I guess, I want to start from my personal perspective. So as a PMM, it's really fun to talk about the platform and Splunk as a whole. So as you guys know really well, Splunk can ingest data from any source. Splunk turns data into a story. And of course, we like helping your data shape a story to form clear and actionable insights. SPL2 really is that continuation and enhancement of that North Star. This presentation really is to introduce the concept of SPL2, understand why SPL2 addresses these customer challenges that you're seeing on the screen and answer that question of why do I care? So let's start with those customer gaps, those things that we get to hear all the time. Our customers are not shy, but we really thrive on that feedback. So kind of as we know, organizations are seeking visibility and the ability to rapidly investigate and respond to data signals across their technology landscape. Sometimes Splunk doesn't make that immediately easy. And I'm sure you yourself have told your account reps or some of us on the call those challenges. The Splunk portfolio does have multiple languages. You know, SPL, props and transforms, SOAR, SPL, each with their own kind of specific learning curves. And we've run into inconsistent language syntax within our own portfolio here and there. It's a little contradictory. So SPL, our search query, is not always consistent with industry language standards, and developers do have to learn an entire new language, which is challenging and of course time consuming. In fact, the history of SPL is a little interesting. SPL was actually designed from scratch. It was like added over time, which didn't quite scale well, and there was inconsistencies in the language and syntax. So we've heard end users raise concerns about what affects their workflow and daily activities. Analysts will come to us to say, the learning curve is too big. Why do I have to learn an entire new language? Admins will say, I spend way too much time teaching the end users. Data admins will say, data is noisy and unstructured. No one else in my organization can operate this the way I can. And then app developers say, I can't test or scale my apps. So the result is we build SPL2 to address these challenges and to provide customers like yourself with an overall easier search experience. So that kind of explains why we're improving on SPL2. But what I want to dive into is really leave you with this. SPL2 unifies search and data preparation, that getting data in, for Splunk analysts, app developers, and data admins with a powerful, flexible, and easy to use language. An easy way to think of it is, one data language and one experience across the Splunk portfolio. It addresses those customer challenges we just talked about, and let's dive into why you should care about it and why you should get excited. What is SPL? Let's start at the top. It's an easier, more powerful language that's built for a wide range of people who use Splunk. We focus on analysts, app developers, admins, data admins, those end users we just brought up. And you'll find that different elements of SPL2 cater more or less to each user type. SPL2, like SPL, is a query language. In fact, you can just use SPL within SPL2 when searching. So it's backwards compatible. In addition, SPL2 also supports SQL-like syntax. SPL2 is product agnostic, intuitive language that really is the best of both query and scripting languages. SPL2 also borrows concepts in Python, making it far more powerful than SPL. So SPL2 is not a product, but a capability that works with multiple products. SPL2 is becoming broad. It really is that unified language across multiple products within the Splunk portfolio. SPL2, just as a reminder, for search and reporting is now generally available and was launched with the recent Splunk Enterprise 10.2 and Splunk Cloud Platform 10.2 in about mid-January. In conclusion, SPL2 really brings together all that data across those use cases throughout your organization and helps you get the most out of your existing tools and investments. SPL2 is designed to unify your data ecosystem. So cool, we know the purpose, but why should I care? Let's get into those specific value props. So what I'd love to start out with is a wider range of people can actually use Splunk at your organization now. SPL2 really shortens that learning curve for users and removes the barrier to entry for new users. You can write SQL syntax or SPL syntax. I kind of want to take a moment to emphasize how impactful it is. It's worth repeating. If I can already write SQL, I'll be much more willing to use Splunk. So anybody new in your organization, anybody new to Splunk can pick it up much quicker. Splunk's now approachable for a more wide range of analyst backgrounds while remaining completely backwards compatible with SPL for current users. So your team doesn't have to learn SPL or domain-specific language within the Splunk ecosystem. And the result is that Splunk admins save time teaching SPL or SPL2, and Splunk analysts save time learning. Also, SPL2 is stronger and more powerful search language, one language across multiple products which results in joining sources together. SPL2 is available across the Splunk platform to unify, prepare, route, mask, transform, analyze, and conduct investigations. Customers can really run data from multiple projects, multiple data lakes at the same time, orchestrating all in Splunk. Bottom line, you get to do your job more efficiently. It also reduces friction when it comes to adoption. When I talk to customers about this, when I present about SPL2, I can see kind of a weight lifted off their shoulders when we talk about this reduces friction when it comes to adoption value prop. There's kind of a sigh of relief because there's no immediate adoption. There's really no need to adopt if you don't want to, because everything is backwards. SPL2 is backwards compatible. So you can still be using SPL2, but using that, you can be utilizing SPL2, but using that SPL syntax. And you don't have to learn an entirely new language. And there's no hard cutover when we introduce SPL2. No upgrades, no conversions, no apps that you need to upgrade. It's a very easy process. Lastly, search and data management language consistency. SPL2 allows activities to be performed all by one team interchangeably. SecOps, IT ops, DevOps, SREs, app developers, and admins. There's that search and stream consistency with one language. It unifies individuals and an organization, and they can kind of work together much more as a team. One language we can all talk, much less siloed. Also, as an example, with that single language, everyone, regardless of their role and responsibilities, can be proficient in Splunk. So less dependent on an admin. So if somebody leaves, like if your admin leaves or changes management, or your management changes, it becomes a lot more easy to manage and to maintain consistency in Splunk. Oh, and lastly, SPL2 has a massive impact on app development and unlocks more app customizations. So now we have a language that we can do a million more things with, so we can create a million more customized app for your ecosystem. So the result of these 5 value props, really, it unifies your data ecosystem and enables folks to use Splunk better and easier. It's our next generation data search and preparation language to unify the Splunk ecosystem as well as third-party data lakes. Let's revisit, though, those kind of main end users we touched on earlier: analysts, admins, app developers, and data admins. So SPL2 really empowers all of them to save them time or help them do their job better. And let's dive into that. For Splunk analysts, let's get to the chase. It shortens their learning curve for end users. A lot of analysts come with database backgrounds, and they can use that knowledge to analyze the Splunk platform. They can conduct their investigations quicker and easier, including utilizing data lakes and federation of data lakes. Splunk admins, they spend less time teaching end users actually how to learn SPL. Frees up their time to perform their normal daily activities like scaling and maintaining the system. Data admins, quicker and easier data preparation, that getting data in that we like to talk about. And since it's a more powerful search language, they can use SPL2 to rehydrate and replay data during an investigation. And then lastly, with app developers, they can, of course, use SPL2 to create apps with customized views and permissions, especially to redact personal information so organizations can send and use information safely and securely. And data governance is always top of mind. So I want to leave you with one takeaway. SPL2 brings less friction and a more unified data ecosystem, helping your job get easier and more efficient. All right, now let's dive into what does this actually look like and how can we get started? I'm going to pull in Jay for this one as well.
Thank you, Michelle. And hello, everyone. So welcome to the new SPL2 Search Mode. As Michelle already mentioned earlier, our goal with SPL2 is to reduce the learning curve and make your job easier. And when you drop into the search mode, you're not forced to learn a completely new language. You can use familiar SPL or SQL-like syntax to get started immediately. And if you have existing SPL logic, our convert to SPL2 will do the heavy lifting for you. We have also turbocharged the authoring experience with inline documentation, autocomplete, and linting. You can build and troubleshoot queries much faster. And once you have found the insights you need, operationalizing them, it is seamless. You can save your work directly as an alert, dashboard, or report right from this view. moving to what's in SPL2 modules. So now SPL2 modules, which are designed to completely transform how your team collaborates and investigates. And instead of losing track of individual queries, modules allow you to group multiple name searches into a single file. You can add commentary and documentation right alongside the code, making it incredibly easy for the teams to share logic and collaborate. For deeper investigations, and instead of opening dozens of browser tabs to find and execute the right SPL queries, and ultimately suffering from the tab fatigue, you can use the module editor to chain these searches together. This allows you to run all of your analysis in a clean, step-by-step way to build out the complex workflows. And we have not forgotten about our less technical users. Module features a point-and-click editor that generates SPL2 behind the scenes, offering a true no-code experience. Just like in search mode, any insights you uncover here can be immediately saved as dashboards, reports, or alerts to drive business impacts. And moving on to the data security and governance. So let's talk about SPL2 RBAC views. For the admins in the room, we know how critical it is to ensure the right teams have access to the right data. With SPL2, you can now build role-based access control directly into virtual views over your index data. What makes this so powerful is that view definitions themselves are written entirely in SPL2. This means you can use the exact same flexible language you use for searching to enforce the targeted access. To keep it, to take a step further, your teams can create views on the top of existing views, giving you incredible flexibility to build layered, highly granular access controls. Ultimately, this simplifies your governance strategy and ensures secure access without ever needing to duplicate your underlying data. One of the most exciting ways SPL2 turbocharges your use case is through custom functions. We know that every organization data is unique, and sometimes you need specific logic to analyze it. With SPL2, you can create custom functions to handle complex data transformations, like parsing highly unstructured text or determining if a specific product is a premium product or not. But the real magic is reusability. Power users or admins can develop these custom functions and save them into centralized libraries. This means your everyday analysts do not need to write complex parsing logic from scratch. They can simply call all the reusable functions your team has already built, drastically reducing their time learning curve and speeding up the investigations. And finally, let's look at the SPL2 custom types, which is a game changer, in my opinion, for how you manage data quality across your Splunk ecosystem. We all know the saying that garbage in, garbage out. And with custom types, you can define your own schemas directly in SPL2 and validate your data against them. These types are highly composable, meaning you can snap them together to build a complex schemas that match your unique environment. But the most powerful aspect is where this happens. You can use this custom types to validate data quality right at the point of the ingestion. If the data matches the schema, you can route it to one index. If it does not, you can route it to somewhere else for inspection. It gives you control over your data pipeline before the data even comes at rest. So now, some of you might be wondering, this all makes perfect sense, but how can I start using SPL2 today? And to help answer that question and show you exactly where to begin, I will pass it over to Laura.
Thank you, Jay. So there's a rich set of documentation available to learn about this. SPL2 has its own set of documentation, including an overview, which is new, which has in it things like differences between SPL1 and SPL2. It also has in it the release notes. And there's a search manual, just like there is in SPL, and a search reference. The search manual is for the why and the how to to work with SPL2. For installing and managing SPL2-based apps, the admin manual is where you want to go for that. There's separate sections for SPL2 apps. There's also information in the developer guide about creating SPL2-based apps, an end-to-end sort of development of that, including a place to talk about how to plan your architecture and the modules that you might want to have to separate out different things like custom functions and custom data types that Jay talked about. And then finally, there are endpoints specific to SPL2 in the REST API reference. We'll be coming out with a few courses on SPL2 specifically in the near future, so those will be coming soon. So now that we've sort of summarized everything, let's go ahead and give you some demos about how this all works. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jay to give a demo.
Okay, thank you, Laura. And let me share my screen. And you should be able to see my screen right now with the home page.
Yes, we do.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So yeah, this is our Splunk homepage. I'm going to go to the search and reporting page. Here you will see the single search bar. You will see two options, SPL and SPL2. So you can write your queries either in SPL or in SPL2. So let's write our first query in SPL first. So I'm writing a very simple query here and executing this query. You will see this result. Now pay attention to the syntax over here. I'm going to use this tool that convert to SPL2 to convert this SPL into SPL2. Let's see, and this my SPL2 is converted, and I requested you to pay attention to the syntax. And if you see it, then it's not a lot of tons of change. Means SPL2 has SPL-like syntax, and if you already know SPL, you do not need to worry or learn a new language. You can also write SQL-like syntax. So I'm writing the same query in SQL. And with this, is going to make with SQL-like syntax, as Michelle and I also mentioned earlier, is going to make the adoption much easier for your team, for someone who does not know anything about SPL. Now I'm going to move to modules. So I'm going to click on this module option on the UX, and this will take me to the module listing page. Here you will see all the modules that you have access to. You can click on this create module button to create your own module, but I've already created modules for you for this demo. So I'll start from that, and then I'll also come back to this create module button to show you how we can create your own module, right? So I'll start with this SPL2 analyst demo module first. So here you can see you can use the module editor to run your complex searches or investigations. You can start with your base search, is shown here, and then you can name your base search. And once you name it, you can use that name, or you can refer to that search in the subsequent searches, and that's how you can create your chain searches. And you can see the example over here. You can also write the inline comments, and this inline comment will help you understand, also help your team members understand what logic you're writing for that specific search. Then you can also write the multi-line comments, and this will help you to add any kind of closing remark. So this is not only a developer tool, but or help you write your SPL2 queries, but it also a good collaboration tool, and you can write your modules, you can share with your team, and they can also follow your thought process that you used to conduct a specific investigation. Any search, you can execute all the searches independently. So for example, let's say if I like to run a base search, I'll just click on this thing, and you can see on my right-hand side, the base search is selected, and I can search it. And then if I would like to run the last one, then I can select that. And again, you can see on my right-hand side that search is selected, and I can execute it. I'll talk about some of the UX feature, how you can use the point and click user interface to write your own searches as part of the create when I'm going to show you how to create your own module from scratch. Going back to the model listing page here, I have created a view for this demo. So in this example, let's say I'm the admin. I have to provide access to the main index to the marketing team. They do not need access to the full index. They just need access to the specific data set. So I write SPL2 query and to provide them access to this data set. So I create this view, marketing view for them, and then I export this view. And once I export this view and give access to this module to my marketing team, then they will be able to use this view to run their searches. Also, one thing to notice here, once I export this view, you can also click on my left hand side. You can see this marketing view option with 3 small buttons. You can use this view as an alert report and as part of the dashboard. Let me close this thing and show you how we can use it. So let's say now I'm the marketing guy. I know that my admin has created this marketing view for me. So I import this view in my module, and then I can write queries using this view. I can, if I want, I can add more views on the top of this marketing view. We'll quickly cover the functions. So here I wrote the sample function. So this sample function is accepting a product ID and then returning back if that product ID is a premium product or not. And the user of anyone who likes to use this function, they can create their own module. They can import this function and they can use this function as a standard SPL2 function as part of their search queries. So this is example. Another example is as admin or power user, you can create custom types. So this is one example. So in this example, I created a custom type of IPv6. Here I like to check if the incoming string is a valid IPv6 address or not. And I create this type and export it. And whoever would like to use this type, now they can create their own module, import it, import this type, and then they can use this type as part of their search query. As I mentioned earlier, you can combine this multiple types together. For example, here I created one type as IPv6. I can also create a type for IPv4, and then I can combine IPv6 and IPv4 together to see if the incoming string is a valid IP address or not. You can do this type check at the data ingestion site, and there even before loading data into Splunk index, you can validate the quality of the data. If the data is good, then you can store it in Splunk index. If data quality is not good, then either you can disregard it or you can route it to some other place for further inspection. Now I'll show you how to create your own module and how to use some of the features of the point and click user interface to create to write your own SPL searches. SPL2 searches. So let me go back. I'm clicking this create module button. It will take me to this blank module. I see the data set that I used recently, so I can use one of them, or I can search data sets too using this part. I apply this main data and see my base query is written for me. I run this query, I'll see the results. If I want, I can put the filter. So let's say I am looking for a specific IP address like this one. So I can put the filter for this. So it's very easy to put that filter. If I want, I can also add filter using this filter field, filter values field on using this option. I can select if I'm interested in a specific fields, not all of them, so I can select those fields. So let's say here I select time, maybe raw, maybe client IP, and maybe there is one more field I'd like to select is product ID. So I can do that. If I want to enrich my data set, I can use lookups. So if I want to convert these product IDs into product names, so I can use lookups. So and you can see that now I take this thing out. Okay. Now you can see that the product name is also added. If I want, I can also run the aggregations, summarize data, maybe based on, I don't know, product name, and then count and split by product name. And you can see that, it's created the change search for me. I can save this module. I can maybe give a name of this module, description. I can save this module as private, and once I save it as private, no one will have access to it other than me. Obviously, admins will be able to access this. And then app, I can save as an app, and I can, this way I can select who should have access to this module, and I can provide that access, and then I can save it. If I want to change the access to the existing modules, I can just go to the module listing page, click on edit, and click on edit permissions. And with that, I will pass it over to Tim.
Thanks, Jay. I'm just going to drill down really quickly into, so Jay touched on an access control example. So I'm going to give a more in-depth example about that. So we have a PII masking app. So I'm going to log into my stack as an admin and show you how to sort of lock down that this access here. So I'm within my Splunk inside an app called sample SPL2 PII masking for my personally identifiable information. And so I have a few modules here that the admin has created, and one of them has sample data in it. One nice thing about SPL2, if you've ever, increasingly in our worlds, events show up as JSON format, and it can be fairly annoying if you're trying to use make results to use real event data. One thing that SPL2 makes easier is that we allow you to just use JSON formatted events to directly paste them in. We call these dataset literals. So you can do from and then all of these events. And you can see within these events, we have some email addresses. Don't worry, they're not real. But let's say we wanted to obfuscate the most of the email address and just keep the lower level domain name. So we have these events. Inside the app, we have a search that we've defined that is called masked view. And so we've imported the data that I just showed you. We have this PII mask function that basically removes the identifiable information. If you care to know, we can take a real quick look. So we're using the replace function down here to replace those those fields that we don't want ordinary users to see. And so what I've done is, as an admin, I can provide permissions here for only this execute permission, which means they can't actually see the underlying data. They can only execute the view that's based on that data. So if we go back to this masking module, you'll see, so we want to provide basically just access to this masked view. So now if I log in as a regular user, we can see what they see. And so now if I'm inside this same app and I go to the modules listing, I can only see this special resources module. I won't go too much into this, but this is our way of defining views that, or searches that can be exposed in the search bar without an import. And so now if I go to the UI and perform a search here as user 1, again, in SPL2, I can search over that masked view. And what you can see is I can still see the data, but now this the emails have been obfuscated. And so basically that's how we've achieved the goal of only allowing certain fields for certain users while retaining maybe the index for audit purposes that only admins have access to. All right, and let me hand it over to Laura for another demo.
Hi. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, let me share my screen here, about the documentation for all of these things that we've been showing you. So let me do that. And you should be able to see my screen. So can you see my screen where it says Splunk Enterprise?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So when you go to help.splunk.com, and you look at Splunk Enterprise, you'll see a set of panels here. And you've got your administrator panel where your admin manual is, the search panel where you've got different search manuals, and leverage REST APIs here as well, and release notes. If you were to click on search, for example, you'll see all the documentation both for SPL1 or SPL and SPL2. So we have for SPL2 the overview manual, the search manual, and the search reference, SPL2 search reference down here. I'm just going to go to another tab just so I can quickly get to these manuals. So this is the SPL2 overview manual, and in it, it's going to have some basic information about what is SPL2. What you might want to hone in on is what's new and different in SPL2 and what specific differences between SPL and SPL2. And as I mentioned when I talked earlier, there are the release notes for SPL2 here. In the search manual, the SPL2 search manual, it's a great place for you to point your users to get to know how to use SPL. So getting started using SPL, it talks about using SPL in the search and reporting app search bar. It talks about how to use the SPL2 module editor. So those are described here. In addition to that, it also gives you sort of the, not just the how, but the why, and a little bit about what these things are. So it describes what modules are, statements. It gives you examples about, for example, about importing and exporting and how to do those things. It talks about data sets and data set literals, and there's some examples of data set literals, for example, that I put in here that you can just copy and paste to use if you want. A little bit more about functions and expressions, how to do custom functions and how to create those. There are two types. There are eval functions and they're command functions. Data types, all of that's here in the SPL2 search manual. Like with SPL, we also have a search reference. The search reference talks a little bit about the syntax and understanding the syntax. It has some information about compatibility with other products that use it, like edge processor and ingest processor. It lists the eval functions, just like the eval functions you have in SPL. They're the same functions. Statistical and charting functions, the same functions. It also has a quick reference of the SPL2 commands, so that it's a nice table to show what the commands are and what they do, and links to them and some examples. And then every command that you look at, for example, I'm looking at the bin command here, has its own example page. You can go right to examples for using that particular command. So every command has that. Next up is the admin manual. And in the admin manual, what we've added under Meet Splunk Apps is a section on installing SPL2-based apps and managing SPL2-based apps. And managing SPL2-based apps is where you're going to see information about modifying permissions on modules. That's where you'll find that information. Next up is the REST API reference. In the search endpoint section, there is an entire section for SPL2. At the bottom, you scroll way down. There'll be endpoints for SPL2, endpoints for SPL2 searches, modules and applications. That's here. And you'll see the different endpoints that are supported for SPL2. And finally, in the dev.splunk.com portal, you'll see the developer guide here, and we have a section on creating SPL2-based apps. And this is where you're going to find information about doing that. The build SPL2-based apps section is really great because it's got information about how to some guidelines on how to architect your applications and importing your information and so forth. So that's here in the dev guide. Okay. So let me stop sharing my screen here, and we'll move on to the next part, which is, let's see, there. We'd like to know from you, based on what you've heard about today or in your previous information about SPL2, what features do you find most valuable or you think you're most excited about learning about? So if you could just click on whichever number you feel comfortable about wanting to know more, or that you really want to work with, we'd really appreciate understanding that from you. It looks like we're getting quite a few people have submitted that. That's great. Okay, give a couple more minutes, a couple more seconds for that. And let's see how we're doing there. So we've got, looks like custom functions is the winner there. All right. Excellent. Excellent. And if you want to add a little bit more, that's fine too. We'd appreciate the feedback. Okay. Let's see what we've got now. Okay, great.
Thank you everyone. Anything last minute, or we'll appreciate your feedback on that one. Thank you.
Yeah. This list of additional resources we're going to be sending out to you in a thank you email. So you don't have to take a screenshot or that. You'll get this list of resources for you. Okay. So there are blogs, videos, and so forth. And then we're going to start Q&A. Please submit your questions. We'd love to hear what your questions are and happy to answer them.
Yeah, let's dive right in. Thank you guys so much for all those demos, Laura, Tim, and Jay. That was really insightful and helpful. I love being able to see these things in action in real time for different end users. Let's jump right in. There was a question that I think we answered a little bit earlier in the chat, but I just wanted to remind folks that SPL2 for search and reporting is now generally available in Splunk Enterprise 10.2 and Splunk Cloud Platform 10.2, which launched about a month and a half ago in mid-January. I think it was the 15th of January. All right, so please feel free to send in any questions in the Q&A chat right on the screen on 24. We'll be able to see it on our end and then kind of flag it to say, oh, let's answer this live. And we'll stay on for a while to answer any.
Sorry, Michelle, it's also available in a Splunk Cloud Platform in 10.4.
Yes.
2026, 2025 10.2 10.10, sorry.
Thanks, Laura.
Yeah.
All right, I can take this one. This came in a little bit earlier. Are there any plans to expand SPL2 integrations to other Cisco products outside of Splunk? That's something that's currently, we're not essentially, I would say no, but we will keep you guys updated as things come in. So no, not right now. The purpose of this is just to talk about the announcement of it in search and reporting for Splunk specifically. Okay, we've got one more in, and I'm going to ask Jay and team this. Are there any specific courses that I can utilize for SPL2?
Yes, as Laura already mentioned, we are working on updated courses for SPL2. So there is existing course on SPL2 that you can go and learn, but we are also working on updated version for SPL2, SPL2 courses. And as part of those courses, you're gonna see three courses. One is the fundamentals, then second one is the technical deep dive, and third one is more suited for admins and developer personas. So you will see this an announcement in, you can say, coming months. Not even months, like coming weeks. But there is already existing SPL2 course there if you want to look at it now.
All right, I'm also going to ask, how's the performance of SPL2 based filtering versus ingest actions over very high volume sources?
Tim, you want to take it?
I think we have to defer to our partners in, I'm not sure whether you would be referring to ingest or edge processor, but those would be the comparable products to ingest actions. I don't have any numbers in front of me. I'll defer to my experts, my subject matter experts on that. Perhaps we might be able to follow up.
Right. This recording, as well as any Q&A answers we don't get to or need to follow up on, we will make sure to do so and publish on community.
Yep.
All right, we'll continue to monitor the inbox as these questions come in, and we'll stay on. No rush at all. Something comes to your mind. Awesome. Jay, this one's for you. Will there be a new Splunk SPL2 certification?
That's a very good question. At this point of time, I do not have the answer for this one. But yeah, I'll get back to you, as Michelle said. I'll check with the education lead, and I'll come back to you on this one.
Awesome. All right, we have another performance question for Brandon. What's the search performance compared to term?
Yeah, I can take this. So Brandon, it's a great question. So ultimately, under the hood, in case it wasn't clear, for the searches we're showing you on Splunk D, it ultimately compiles from SPL2 back down to SPL. So the performance would be the same. Obviously, if you're doing a non-term based search, so if you're talking about looking for a field equals value type search, which is more like what the SQL syntax provides, then those will be more performant. It sort of depends on your data. I don't have a number for you, but that would be more performant than the traditional like Google term search, like if you're just looking for a word that might appear in the raw field. So it's a good question. Ultimately, the performance is comparable or the same as SPL because that's ultimately what we compiled to for this runtime. Different answer for edge processor and ingest processor. And they generally utilize searches with field equals value as well for that reason, for performance reasons.
Thank you, Tim. I think there is one more question, can macros created in SPL be invoked in SPL2? Yes, you can. So anything, any commands that is not yet supported, SPL command that is not yet supported in SPL2, you can embed that SPL inside SPL2 using backtick, or there is a one SPL2 command called SPL1 that will let you to call or run any SPL function inside SPL2.
All right, there's one more, Jade. You see that, or do you want me to read this out to the team?
Yeah, I can. So next one is, if you utilize MySQL-based queries for existing script, are there any conversion functions for PHP readily available to use Splunk as the database? If not, how do we accomplish? So I'm not sure if we have anything for MySQL queries, but Tim, can you please keep me honest?
Yeah, we don't have specific tooling around MySQL, but the general rule is for sort of SQL flavor agnostic syntax, it will just work today. If there's MySQL flavor specific syntax, obviously that wouldn't be, that may or may not be supported, I guess I should say. Probably not. So the basic syntax of, select, from, group by, order by, those kinds of clauses would just work out of the box as the same in MySQL as the SQL-like syntax in SPL2. So hopefully that answers your question.
One more. What usually breaks first when SPL2 app development scales? Yeah, that's a good question. So I don't know, like I'm not seeing anything that is specifically breaking when you start with SPL2 app development. But I'm not sure whether, Tim, you have any specific things to add based on your experience.
We're early days, but we do have limits around things like the number of characters in a module, for example, and the way that we can work around that is that because we have the ability to use imports and exports, you can, like, if you have the content itself in SPL2 is scaling too big, you can break that up into multiple modules, which also helps for scaling compilation before you execute the search, basically that kind of performance. In terms of the queries themselves, I think we experience, again, for this use case, it's compiling down to SPL ultimately, so it tends to scale similarly in those directions. But it is definitely, I have to give the caveat that we are pretty early days, right? So we only GA'd in January, and so I think the real meaningful answers to your questions are yet to come.
Yes. Okay. Next one. Do we? Okay. Are there? Okay. This one is the next one. Are there any? No. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to understand. Is regular SPL going away, and we have to all move to SPL2? No. Regular SPL is not gonna go away. SPL is there. The thing is, but the new capabilities that we're gonna launch, we're gonna add on SPL2 side. But again, just to confirm, SPL is not gonna go away. Okay. I'm trying to, Michelle, I'm trying to keep track of like which one is answered, which one is not. So looks like the question number 18 is needs to be answered, right? Do we have debugging capabilities in SPL2 to see what's going wrong while queries? Yes, you have the debugging capabilities in SPL2. You will get job inspector. So once when you run your SPL2 queries, you will see the detailed log in the a job inspector, and you can use those details to debug your query. Also, you will see the error message on in front of your screens too. Tim, anything you like to add more on this one? No,
You got
good.
it.
Yeah. Okay, so question number 20 now. Where do we want to develop a strata line between SPL2 web logic and edge processor logic? I'll try to answer this question first. So edge processor logic is more for your data processing, how you write your pipelines or data processing pipelines. And SPL2 is more about how you want to use that data in search and reporting. And one of the example that I think Tim has already shown.
I do see a question on if this is specifically for cloud versus on-prem. This is GA for both prem and on cloud in Splunk Enterprise 10.2 and Splunk Cloud Platform 10.2.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
whichever ones are still, I guess, like bolded, the rest of them
Yeah.
kind of turn to gray as we answer.
yeah. How do you keep large SPL2 apps fast as they grow? I think in one part, Tim has already answered that question, that we are very new in this space and we are also learning. So as soon we learn more, we can publish those guidelines too. But our existing recommendations are already there as part of our documentation. Tim and Laura, if you have any specific comments on this one, let me know. Let us know.
Yeah, I think that's it. Basically referring back to what we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Are there any native function in scripting that will automatically connect to a Splunk instance to be able to perform the SQL-like queries and then have those queries return formatted information similar to how SQL returns information? I'm not clear on this question, so I'm not sure.
So I guess I can take a stab at it. So if you're looking to execute a query in your Splunk using the SQL-like syntax, the existing Splunk endpoints for search job dispatch work. So we have this convention where under the hood, we have an @SPL2 preface that you can add before any search you're dispatching, and that will tell the search dispatch job that this is an SPL2 query. And that's actually how we enable things like dashboards in SPL2 today. And so using the Splunk D REST API, if you're familiar with that, you can do a search dispatch job against our APIs using the same way that you would a normal SPL job. In terms of formatting, you can get the results in JSON, which is much more easy to work with. But I'm not sure exactly how you would get to or in particular what you're looking for in terms of SQL-like formatting. So I guess that's a good question.
All
By
right,
the way,
we're almost at the top of the hour.
Yeah. No, just
ahead,
one
Jay.
thing though. We are also on Splunk community. So we have #SPL2 channel on Splunk Slack community. If you have very specific questions, we can basically interact with you as a kind of a back and forth form on that Slack community.
Awesome. I just want to leave you guys with a big thank you. We, of course, always have quarterly upcoming tech talks, oh my gosh, and office hours to continue to put your questions in front of these Splunk experts and to learn about upcoming new innovations. So thank you guys so much for your time. This will all be published on Community, and feel free to reach out at any time.
Thank you.